In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa, we ask these ancestors to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa and marched down the Nile, laying the foundations for human civilization and culture, we ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of these African ancestors who built their pyramids and their temples to their God concepts, to their principles, and to their moral values, who left us a legacy of architecture and monumental building unparalleled in the history of the world, we ask these ancestors who built the pyramids, who built the temples, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these African ancestors who took this African culture and extended it throughout Africa, building the stone cities of Zimbabwe, building the empires of the Sudan, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, building the Swahili city-states along the east coast of Africa, and in Christian Africa asking King Lalibela and giving him the courage to build the 12 churches of Lalibela from the ground down, monuments to the world. We ask these Africans to spread this culture to the Dogo and to the Akan and to the Yoruba and to the Bankango and to the Zulu. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the Africans who opened up Africa, opened up the Nile Valley to other cultures and other peoples, and they came in and nurtured themselves on the African greatness. First coming in early were the ancient Hebrews, and they synthesized this culture and produced Judaism. Later coming in were the Christians, and they synthesized this culture and produced Christianity. Coming in were also the Greeks, who took the African culture, synthesized it, and produced Greek civilization. And then later, the Prophet Muhammad, and with the Arabs coming into the Nile Valley, they synthesized the culture and produced Islam. We ask these African ancestors, who as part of their legacy laid the foundations for Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Greek civilization, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask those African ancestors pulled out of Africa, taken to the hells of North America, South America, the Caribbean, maintaining the spirit of African humanity in their hearts and in their minds, and who left us this enormous legacy of struggle. We ask those Africans who resisted enslavement in the villages of Africa, who resisted enslavement in the shores of Africa, who resisted enslavement in those forts and dungeons, who resisted enslavement in the holes of those ships, who resisted enslavement when they arrived on these shores in the New World. We ask these Africans who ran into the highlands of northeast Brazil and established for 100 years the first free republic in the Americas, the Republic of Palmares, and their last great leader, Zumbi, who spared and sacrificed. We ask these Africans who replicated the Brazilian experience and went into the highlands of Jamaica and became the maroon-free communities. We ask these Africans who went into the backwoods of the Guyanas and Suriname and created free republic of the Suramaka and the Ajuka. We ask these Africans who went into the backwoods of Georgia and the swamps of Florida and moved with the Seminole Indians and resisted oppression. We ask these Africans who left us a legacy of struggle and resistance, the likes of which no one in the world has, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who created and laid for us a foundation of struggle and resistance that was passed on generation after generation, that was passed on to Harriet Tubman, who fought her way out of enslavement and became a symbol of freedom for all of us. Similarly, Frederick Douglass and hundreds of thousands of others fought their way out of enslavement. We ask those Africans who went with Boukman, Dessalines, to create the greatest revolutionary experience in the history of the world, the Haitian Revolution, leaving us a legacy, the likes of which no one else has had. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future.
For among the greatest one, who though hidden from us is a source of all life, prosperity, and health. Let us unite in peace. Let us heed the call of our ancestors, and let the African spirit unite us as we attempt to continue the struggle, confident that we will conquer. Aluta continua, evatora iserta. When your God and your Savior look like your master and your enslaver, you become the principal agent in your destruction. The words of our elder, now ancestor, Dr. Ben. Let no religious scruples, no political machinations divide us, but let us hold together under all climes and in every country, making among ourselves a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Your first allegiance shall be to your God, then to your family, race, and country.
Running African, reuniting the African family for development.
Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. Hotep Senu Hensenu. Uncle Johnson, life, prosperity, health. Indominedo, good morning. Tanastalin, greetings to you. Jambawati, how are you? We're Africans not because we were born in Africa. We're Africans because Africa was born in us. Seeking truth, learning from the past, absorbing the spirit of human possibility, honoring my moral obligation to remember. Sankofa Ing, because as our elder brother Malcolm X tells us, we must recapture our heritage, our identity, if we are ever to liberate ourselves from the bonds of white supremacy. We must launch a cultural revolution to unbrainwash an entire people. Culture is an indispensable weapon in the struggle for freedom. Breaking the cycle of mental control, understanding that he who holds the land holds economic power.
Black power! 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 Black power!
pleasant morning to you. Very, very pleasant morning to you. Welcome once again. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. 16 minutes after 6 o'clock. Good morning to you, Talia. Thank you so much. Got a lot to get through this morning. Want to thank my brother Shane Clark, along with my broadcast assistant Shamara Preston, for holding the fort last week Sunday. Thank you so much. In the spirit of Ma'at, welcome to the space, Akwaba. It's an African-centered space, a black space, a Pan-African space, a space in which our mission, our vision, is to reunite the African family for development. Our mission includes blazing new paths towards Africa's rendezvous with destiny. Bearing witness, demanding change, understanding all the responsibilities and the obligations that come with bearing witness. Crafting an African-centered agenda for change and development. Honoring my moral obligation to remember. Good morning to you. My name is Kabu Ma'at Kheru. My broadcast assistant this morning is Shamara Preston. Welcome to you if you're just coming back from Sumfest, if you're checking out a bit early from Catherine Hall. Welcome to you if you came in from Sumfest, but you didn't quite make it last night because there was just so much more to do. Welcome to you. Welcome to the space. Welcome to you on the 107s, 107.1, all the way to 107.9. Thank you so much for choosing IRI FM. Welcome to you on virtual space, on the internet at irifm.net. Thank you for joining. Thank you for choosing. Welcome to the space. Welcome to you on our Facebook page. Running African, that's where you are. Checking out our Facebook page. China and Jamaica, that's where you are. Checking out our Facebook page. Or simply checking out Kabu Ma'at Kheru. Thank you so much. Thank you for being there in the Twitter sphere. You can follow me on Twitter, Kabu Ma'at Kheru, at Kabu Ma'at Kheru, K-A-B-U, Ma'at, M-A-A-T, and Kheru is K-H-E-R-U. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining our social media wherever you are. Hey, we've got an entire virtual family, so thank you on Reddit, on Scoopit, at Foursquare, on Facebook, on Twitter, Pinterest, and the whole works. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Understanding that unity, as our brother Kwame Ture tells us, is the unfinished business leading toward black power, and that we chant black power, but we'll continue to chant black power if as a nation, if as a people, we do not unite around that greater mandate of black power. Achieving Black Power. The unfinished revolution is our main focus in this space. We've got a lot coming up inside of the program this morning. Going to be focusing a little on the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry. It has announced its final session. Going to be looking at the Emancipation Jubilee coming up. Talking about the preservation of a cockpit country and the boundaries that are now being recognized. Jamaica is gearing up for the 20th International Meeting of Birds Caribbean, and we're going to be talking about that this morning. Also, there is a big plan afoot, and you can't afford to miss the enactment of a trial of Governor Hare. There's also the call for the first Pan-African Federalist Conference, and that is on. Let me tell you how we're going to do this. The 123rd Earth Day celebrations of His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Haile Selassie I. We're looking toward that on the 23rd of July. Elder Teacher High Priest Bafai joins me to talk about that in a little while. Also, the first Pan-African Federalist Congress. The main goal of a gathering to launch a popular mass movement aimed at creating the condition for the birth of a united African states in less than a generation. Some young people heading that up. Jume Faye, a federalist consultant in political development and campaign strategy, research on issues related to African federalism, Pan-Africanism and the African Renaissance, and part of a committee that initiated the call for the first Pan-African Federalist Congress. Will be joining me on the phone lines this morning. Also this morning, the cockpit country, the boundaries of a cockpit country have been drawn, and I understand will be announced shortly. Esther Figueroa will be talking to us about that this morning. Activist, filmmaker, teacher, documentary maker. Esther Figueroa joins me on the phone lines this morning. Going to be looking at some of the communities affected by prospecting license and the expansion of bauxite mining in that area. Also this morning, as we said before, the Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of martyr of the Guyana Revolution, intellectual and activist Walter Rodney is coming to an end. UC Kweana is taking the fight for freedom in every place. UC Kweana is formerly a Guyanese politician, formerly Sidney King, a cabinet minister in the People's Progressive Party government of 1953. You will recall that UC Kweana was detained by the British Army in 1954. Later he left the PPP and he formed ASCRIA, the African Society for Cultural Relations with Independent Africa. That's UC Kweana. And he joins me this morning live on the phone lines. He also formed the Pan-Africanist grassroots political group that, after a brief flirtation with the People's National Congress, or Forbes Burnham, fused into the Working People's Alliance. UC Kweana, taking the fight for freedom in every place, joins me on the phone lines this morning. He turned 90 on April 4 this year, but still an activist of no small proportions, and he'll be giving his views and perceptions on the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry so far, and what does it mean now that it is wrapping up. Also, the Emancipation Jubilee set for July 31 at the Civil Heritage Park in St. Anne under the theme Honoring Our Ancestors. Leslie Gale Atkinson, archaeologist, head of research at the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, joins me on the phone lines. to talk about that, looking ahead. We told you that Jamaica is gearing up for the Birds Caribbean meeting here on the ground in Jamaica and Kingston. Birds Caribbean theme this year, birds, connecting communities and conservation. President of Birds Caribbean is Leo Douglas. He's a research fellow at the Smithsonian in Washington. He's also a lecturer at Columbia University. And he joins me on the phone lines this morning to talk about the 20th International Meeting of Birds Caribbean in Kingston, July 25 to 29. We're going to be talking to Roger Hasfall. He's in Colombia, as you know. Local and international headlines coming your way at 8:45. I read from Sunday Sports Diary. Is right after that. My brother, Pan-African attorney at law, and a dear brother to the program. And to me, Mr. Bert Samuels joins me on the phone lines this morning to talk about the enactment of a trial of Governor Hare. Jamaica is putting Governor Hare on trial at last for crimes against those murdered at his command at Morant Bay in 1865. IRE-FM is partnering with the National Commission on Reparations to broadcast the enactment of a trial live. We'll do that on September 27. We're broadcasting live from the steps of the burnt out Morant Bay Courthouse, which we understand that was also burned down in 1865. All right. Going to be talking to our brother Bert Samuels about the enactment of the trial of Governor Hare. You can't afford to miss that. In the bottom line this morning, we hope to bring you a short piece from Chairman Omali Yeshatela of the African People's Socialist Party. Short piece on Black Power. The bottom line is brought to you courtesy of Adwa Nutrition for Life Health Food Store, located at shop number 42, City Center Mall, and shop number 2, Westgate Plaza, Montego Bay. Adwa Nutrition. Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. Stay with us. We've got so much to do and to talk about this morning. As you can hear, it really is a packed program in the spirit of Ma'at.
And as we fight one another for the power and the glory, Jah kingdom goes west. We the people want to know just where we're going. Right now we hands are tied behind we back, while certain people if I'm butting. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we're getting there. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the range of possibility and changeability. Violence and crime is commonplace within these said times. No man walk free. Prophecy come closer to fulfillment in these dread times. Why should this be? And as we fight one another with the power and the glory, the kingdom goes to waste. And every drop of blood we taste, I feel we own this race. Yeah, I feel we own this race. Can't build no foundation for na if and hut. And every time you ask for some old friend, you hear say just last night he meet a sad, sad end. And if you talk too loud, and if you walk too proud, watch where you lay your head. Borrow the dread, where's the red? Can't build no dreams, and a fuss and a fight. We no care who I do it, just say that's not right.
Can't build no dream and a fuss and a fight. Me no care who I do it, just say that no right. We the people want to know.
And as we fight one another for the power and the glory, Jack Kingdom goes west. We the people want to know just where we're going. Right now we hands are tied behind the back, while certain people if I'm butting. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we're getting there. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the range of possibility and changeability. Violence and crime is commonplace within these said times. No man walk free. Prophecy come closer to fulfillment in these dread times. Why should this be? And as we fight one another with the power and the glory, the kingdom goes to waste. And every drop of blood we taste, I feel we own this race, yeah. I feel we own this race. Can't build no foundation for a if and a but. Are we building a nation, or are we building a hut? And every time you ask for some old friend, you hear say just last night he meet a sad, sad end. And if you talk too loud, and if you walk too proud, watch where you lay your head. Borrow the dread, where's the red? Can't build no dreams, and a fuss and a fight. We no care who I do it, just say that's not right. And as we fight one another with the power and the glory, your kingdom goes to waste.
It takes on personal meaning for us here at Area FM. Can't build no foundation and a fuss and a fight. Me no care who I do it, just said that ain't right. But even outside of that, the fact that it has taken on this personal connotation for us right here, it also has greater meaning for us this morning as a nation. Our brother Ernest Smith, as we fight one another for the power and the glory, Jack Kingdom is going to waste. One of the things that we have to immediately pay attention to, and to call a spade wherever we are, whatever side we find ourselves on, whatever side of a political divide that we find ourselves on, is that we must call out the criminals wherever they are. We must call out those who are aiding and abetting in criminal activities. We must call out those who are aiding and abetting gun crimes in Jamaica. We must take a stand, even if we're sitting down, and we must take a stand against politicians who over the years have been responsible for handing out weapons. And now they're trying to recall them and can't. And we don't even know the extent to which they continue to do so. But we know Jamaican politics is built on a system in which politicians divide the country, not just along tribal political lines, but also along tribal gang lines, in which guns are put in the hands, or were put in the hands, of gangsters and youth, young Africans who rename themselves gunmen to fight your war. And now you're sitting in all kinds of places of high learning, places of high institution, high organizations. You're sitting at the top in Jamaica, and those who have died, we must dig them up and trample them and spit on their graves, because they have done this. And for we own this grace that they continue to do this. And then they are pretending that they do not know that they are part of the problem. Politics and politicians have been part of the problem of crime in Jamaica, and we must face that if we are to solve the problem of crime, of murder, gun crime in particular, and gangsterism in Jamaica. Somebody must stand up and call it.
Watch where you lay your head. Borrow the dread, wear the red. Can't build no dreams on a fuss and a fight. Me no care who I do it, just say that's not right. And as we fight one another with the power and the glory, the kingdom goes to waste, and every drop of blood we take.
Black power! 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 Black power!
We hands are tied behind the back, while certain people if unbutton. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we're getting there. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the range of possibility and changeability. Violence and crime is commonplace within these said times. No man walk free. Prophecy come closer to fulfillment in these dread times. Why should this be? And as we fight one another with the power and the glory, the kingdom goes to waste, and every drop of blood we taste. I feel we own this race, yeah. I feel we own this race. Can't build no foundation for a if and a but. Are we building a nation, or are we building a hut? And every time you ask with some old friend, you hear say just last night he meet a sad end. And if you talk too loud, and if you walk too proud, watch where you lay your head. Borrow the dread, wear the red. Can't build no dreams on a fuss and a the power and the glory. The kingdom goes to waste, and every drop of blood we take,
and every drop of blood we take are African blood, and if an African taking African blood, your place has been assigned. You are in the universe as Africans, and there is no room for you as anything else. We don't care who do it. Just said that. No right. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African, and Profi, elder, teacher, priest, high priest is in the house, and we're talking to him right now.
We pledge allegiance to the lion, the one who reigned from Mount Zion. Allegiance to the lion, the one who reigned from Mount Zion. 'Cause the Lion of Judah reigned over land and sea, reigned for eternity, reigned over land. Cause the Lion of Judah reigns. Eli, Eli, chant and shout. Let them know what we are chanting about. Eli, Eli, chant and shout. Let them know what we are all about. Cause the Lion allegiance to the lion, one who reigned from Mount Zion. Pledge allegiance to the lion, one who reigned from Mount Zion. 'Cause the Lion of Judah.
From the album Nyabingi Redemption, the sound of a Profi with the sounds of Nyabingi. Of course, we're talking about the 23rd of July, the 123rd Earth Day celebrations of His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Haile Selassie the First, and the plans here in Jamaica for that. Joined in the studio by, as I said before, elder, teacher, high priest. None of those titles given to himself by himself, but it is what you are. So welcome to the space, Profi.
Give thanks, one love, Ras Tafari, blessing.
Profi, July 23rd, hardly anybody, I think, listening in is not recognizing that date right now. But for those who are wondering what we're talking about, tell us, July 23rd, why is that date significant?
July 23rd is a very significant day, especially for Ras Tafari, brethren and sisters, and the black family worldwide. You know, it's a celebration of the return in Haile Selassie the First in flesh, who I and I give praises to as the Almighty. And a lot of brethren and sisters who is Rastafari know that this day is a very significant day for I and I will be celebrating that day, just like any other one would celebrate their gods or their queens or their king, you know.
December 25 to be.
July 25.
No, I'm saying December, just as anyone would celebrate December 25
yes,
or any of those other dates that Rastafari celebrates July 23. All right, talk to us about this year. This year is significant, not just for July 23, but the entire year, beginning July 23 onward into 2016. Significant all the way back to July 23, 2016.
Yeah, well, for this year, we'll be celebrating, and it have to have a lot of reasoning, a lot of coming together, because we're seeing a lot of different, a lot of splinter, a lot of fighting for power, you know, all kind of things. In every movement, we're seeing that, and we're seeing it within the Rastafari movement. So the brethren and sisterdom who say they are Rastafari have to come together, not just in flesh, but through the spiritual connection, to find that love what have been lost amongst our family because of difference. And I still say, and I must put a petty difference aside, but no difference to her is petty. Yeah, it's not petty.
And so the focus this year, and it's interesting because even for us in the observation, the celebration of the birth date of Mwalimu Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the theme is One Africa. And it seems as if this is where, as African peoples, wherever we are this year, I don't know if you have noticed, is that this is a thinking of African peoples. Unite, One Africa. And all together this year, which for me, it's the culmination, in a way, of a new beginning.
Yes, it's a sieving and a rebirth.
Yes.
Because a lot of bad weed they have to sieve out, you know. So it's a sieving in the black movement. We must realize by this. A lot of people don't realize that there's a higher force and a higher power who is fighting to separate I and I family, and from the Pan-African, the Garveyites, the Rastafari movements, you know, all these group of black movements that come. There's a power that fighting just to keep the family apart. And most time it come to material things. People fighting for power, position, leadership. That's why I give the power to Haile Selassie, and the leader, the teacher is Haile Selassie, the man that never make any mistake. Because all of I and I make mistake. But as for this year, the July 23rd, I and I will be gathering at Redemption Ground, Great Pan, Profile, Gates, you know, and there will be other celebration, because I am certain that Scots Pass is going to gather. I'm certain that Cushites them in the east, maybe Mama Fire, I know 12 tribes them will be gathering also. So for this day, even if one cannot make it from this point to that point, come together as a family in the home, because it first started in the home. If you cannot make it, gather at your home with your family, children, make it. Gather at your home with your family, children, mother, sister, brother, uncle, and make that day a very special day.
Make that be your own material manifestation point. Yeah. Redemption Ground at Profile in Great Pond. This is where one of the biggest celebrations will be happening. But also, as you heard Profile saying, there will be celebrations across the Rastafari community, across Jamaica. And we have a few to announce in a little while. So at what time do you start, which day, and what are you saying to people who are coming in?
It's a lot of one have different starting, but as I sometimes them feel that I don't go by the rules, because enough of these rules made by some brethren who make them and break them right away. So as Rastafari is an ancient indigenous liberty, I can't see where I must light my fire key 12 o'clock at night, because 12 o'clock at night doesn't split the day and the night. So I light my fire key sunrise, because from sunrise to sunset make a day, and from sunset to sunrise make the night. So through I and I liberty, I and I is an ancient indigenous one. I and I is even before clock, even though I and I know that the man Benjamin that create clock and make time and all them things, there is still a black man still, but I and I is still long before that. So I and I don't see where 12 o'clock split. the day and the night. So and I will be lighting the fire key on the 23rd in the morning, and then I will go right up until the Monday morning, which, and I will be sealing up,
And the 23rd is actually falling this year on a Thursday.
Yes.
Which is just a few days away, actually.
Just a few days away. And when I say bingy, I don't see buy and selling, and everyone have to just carry something because it's a family get together, everyone come together, and there's no shop, there's no buying, no sell. So one can't even carry a piece of firewood because and I really here to burn out spiritual wickedness in high and low places, whether rich or poor, black or white, near or far, even round and about I and I. And I hear because the spiritual forces is up against I and I right now, And for next year is a very important year to I and I as Rastafari family.
We'll go to next year. I'm going to give you a minute to talk about next year, but just to look again at Thursday and the fact that there'll be no buying and selling. That for persons who are coming, you say take even a piece of firewood, but come in with your harvest man and be part of what's happening there at Redemption Ground in Great Pond. That's Pafai's gate. All right, so next year, Pafai.
Yes, next year is a very, very, very significant year to the Rastafari family. Next year marks the 50th year of His Majesty's visit to Jamaica. And I definitely write a chant especially for that day, which the name of that chant is Rastafari spread his love all over the world. And it's for 2016 it marked the 75th year of His Majesty. The 75th year of His Majesty. No, the 100th year of His Majesty rule as governor within Ethiopia. So you have some significance.
2016 is a significant year for Rastafari regarding the visit of His Imperial Majesty to Jamaica, marking the 50th year. Looking also as His Majesty's rule, as you're pointing out, as Governor, talking about the centenary. And there's another.
Yeah, the 75th, but it just flips.
But
it will come back to
right. So pretty significant year that we're looking forward to next year. In the meantime, with the celebrations, July 23, 123rd Earth Day celebration for His Imperial Majesty happens across Jamaica, beginning on Thursday, the 23rd of July, which is the actual Earth Day. And at Redemption Ground, this is one place where there will be the firelight, where there will be the bingy, the celebrations, but also across Jamaica, and we'll tell you about some of those. Any final thing you want to say to persons who are coming to Redemption Ground on Thursday? And probably, are people encouraged to stay right through until Monday?
Yes, but whosoever will, and who can make it, because I know that right now within the pressure and the financial time, because we know the finance are bite hot, is that everyone, but I always say a minute with Farah is better than 1,000 here in Babylon. You don't have to come and spend the 4 life. Even a minute,
Yes.
And it's not just for just Rasta, it's just for the people, because Rastafari is for black people, and it's a time where
the ones and ones welcome.
Yeah, man, everyone.
As part of the celebration.
Rasta cannot invite Rasta in their own home, so everyone's supposed to know that whenever they come, it's their own home they are coming, and treat it like their home, because Haile Selassie does not sit up in confusion or conflict. So anyway, you see confusion, put on your spike and run.
Leave it at Thank you very much, Pafai, elder, teacher, high priest, Rastafari. Give thanks to Pafai.
So love to everyone,
Give thanks.
And near.
All right, remember once again the celebrations of His Imperial Majesty's Earth Day. 123rd celebrations kicking off this Thursday at Redemption Ground in Great Pond right here in St. Anne. But also the Nabigi Ancient Council, the Rastafari community, in full preparation, as you heard Pafai saying, for the 123rd Earth Day celebration for Emperor Haile Selassie I, who of course was born on July 23, 1892 and crowned with his Empress Menin as a King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of Judah, elect of himself and light of iration in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, 1930. Since that time, the Rastafari movement has taken root in Jamaica with the Nyabingi Groundation, giving thanks and Isis for the manifestation of the Lion of a tribe of Judah, the root of David that hath revealed to open the scroll and to lose its seven seals. The Nyabingi 123rd Annual Earth Day celebration also taking place at the Nyabingi Centre in Scotts Pass, Clarendon, for 7 lights, commencing with the firelight at midnight Wednesday the 22nd of July and seal on Thursday morning the 30th of July 2015. Everyone is cordially and royally invited. Dress code in effect. Blessed thanks. So that's Clarendon, and you heard from just now from Pafai talking about the Nyabingi at Redemption Ground right here in St. Anne. And I know this is happening across Jamaica, wherever Rastafari is. And let's make it a date and be at one of these gatherings. Pafai, I will be there at Redemption Ground. Right? We know we're heading from all across Jamaica to the Nyabingi centers, wherever they are. Closest to me is Pafai, my brother, and that's where we're heading.
To the lion, one who raised from Mount Zion. He pledged allegiance to the lion, one who raised from Mount Zion. He pledged allegiance.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
We are saying that those organizations which are politically on the front lines fighting for our people should come together and form a united front. This united front is a very simple thing now, a very simple task. All it means is that we come together and have common meetings. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. And ask them.
We're going to be going live to the telephone lines to speak with my brother Jume Faye. He's going to be talking to us about the Pan-African Federalist Congress, which, of course, the main goal, we told you this morning of the gathering, is to launch a popular mass movement aimed at creating the condition for the birth of a united African states in less than a generation. So we're standing by for Jume, who's joining us on the phone lines right now. All right, as we go to the phone lines, Jume, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sister Kabu.
All right, good to have you.
I am really, really honored to be with you on the show, and thank you very much for inviting me. I want to greet all our listeners and send them my warm African feelings about them.
All right, we accept on behalf, and I know that they're hearing you on the internet at irefm.net and on the 107s, also on the Android apps. Thank you once again, Jume. There is a call for the first African Federalist Congress. And, Jume, we're going to start in the middle, because one of the things we want to know, first of all, is what is an African Federalist Congress? What do we mean by that?
Now, just let me just make a little rectification. We're calling for the first Pan-African Federalist Congress.
The Pan-African... Okay, go ahead, yeah? Go ahead for the first Pan-African Federalist Congress.
Exactly, which means a call for all Africans around the world who believe in the need for the African states in Africa and the Caribbean to unite and make true the dream of Marcus Garvey. That's fundamentally what we mean. We mean that these states can form a mighty state where African people will be free to travel, to trade, to set home, and to settle in any one of those states from Africa, including the Caribbean, including Senegal, Haiti, Jamaica, Barbados, you name it. African people have a vast world that they need to manage to make themselves be reckoned with. So, and that's what we're calling for.
All right. And how do you envision, along with those who are calling for the first Pan-African Federalist Congress, which I might add, I am part of that, how do you envision this unfolding? How do you see this actually being operationalized?
What we see as a process is that in every single region, the committee has divided the Pan-African world in 12 regions. In every single region, and those regions are the 5 regions on the African continent, which is North, East, West, Central, and Southern Africa. We have also Europe as a region. We have North America, including Canada and the USA as a region. We have the Caribbean as a region. We have also other regions like the Middle East, the Far East, and so on. Now, in each one of these regions, we have a regional coordination that is going to take place, which we call the Regional Initiating Committee, which will lead to a Regional Preparatory Committee. And in each one of the states, like Jamaica, like Haiti, like Barbados, we will have a National Preparatory Committee that will send delegations to this Congress. And the Congress will launch what we call the campaign for the unification of these states. There are already many states in Africa that are ready for union, and we don't need to make campaign there. But for states that are reluctant, we're going to conduct referendums, force the government to conduct referendums for the people to choose which form of unity they want their state to have with the other African states around the world. And we strongly believe, because of the popularity of Nkrumah, of Garvey, of Sankara, all the pioneers of the unification of African states, we believe that we will win these referendums and these states will be united and form the mighty state that Garvey had announced.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that caught my attention was the method in which you all reached out, that you used to reach out to Pan-Africanists, to African-centered people, to Garveyites, and it was just with a few questions. I don't know if you have those questions with you, but those questions for me really had me, stop for a minute and say, but I do agree with that, and I do believe that. And then you kind of just reeled us in with, well, if you believe in all of this, if this is what you think, then here is what we are suggesting. Do you have those questions there?
Yes, I do.
All right. Could you go through? Could you go through them for me, please, just so our listeners could get an understanding?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. The first question is that, do you believe that the political unification of the African states is a matter of utmost urgency for Africans on the continent and in the diaspora? The second question is, do you agree with Kwame Nkrumah when he said that it is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity? Divided we are weak, united we could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world. And he insists on good because African humanism. Mm-hmm. And then the third question is, do you think that Sheikh Anta Diop was right when he said African unity, I feel, will come from the base and develop as an undercurrent to the present political sterility and economic stagnancy rampant on our continent? A feeling of general insecurity, generated by the ineptitude of the African regimes in dealing with the most crucial issues will result in the masses entering the picture sooner or later. As generalized insecurity spreads, no African regime will be able to prevent the masses from seeing that the ineptitude of their own government is linked to this general insecurity. And at this point, as you predicted, I feel the masses will find within their own ranks the type of political vanguard made up of young, artistic, and politically motivated Africans to unleash a powerful continent-wide movement. This political undercurrent would eventually be forced to sweep away the objective obstacles standing in the way of a continental African federation. The third question is, are you sick and tired of watching Africans being helpless when faced with natural or man-made calamities? And the following question is, do you believe that being an African ought to be an asset, not a liability? And then the following question is, do you believe in the need for a strong African state that can demand and expect to get reparation of the wrongs that were done to Africans throughout slavery and colonialism? And then the last question is that, after those questions,
well, this is where this is where you reeled us in. Yeah. This is where I think it's a genius where you say, if you found yourself answering yes to at least one of these questions, then get the word out, then check out the website, then talk to us about the first Pan-African Federalist Movement that will unite Africa within less than a generation. Now, this is an ambitious job on your part. In less than a generation, what's a generation?
Well, we just want to be cautious, but to tell you the truth, we believe that within 10 years, this can happen, because the African people are ready.
And so the Federal Union is, how do you define the Federal Union?
We define a federal union as a union of all the states that is going to be based on a constitution, not on a treaty. Because this is a very big difference with the OAU or the African Union, for example. The African Union is a confederal union where it is heads of state that are saying, we the heads of state. This will be a constitution that will be understood by African people, whether they are in Kingston, Jamaica, or in Dakar, Senegal, and they will say, we, the people of African or Pan-African people, we decided to unite our state. And then there will be a federal government, there will be a capital city, just like, if you want to say, it will be sort of kind of like the United States of America, sort of that model. Except that we believe it will be much, much, much better. Because it will be much better at taking care of the need of the people, of the need of the environment. It will also be a union that is not geared towards warring to gain anything, because we already have everything we need. A union that will resemble the world.
And for those who say this is just another Pan-African pipe dream, this is just, another Pan-African effort, Pan-Africanism failed, how do we answer this? I noticed, and let me just go to a second point, because I noticed that the group has said that one of the things that's going to happen is that young people who are interested in politics will be helping to drive this. Is there a difference here between what has gone before and what we see happening now?
Well, first of all, let me just address one thing.
Yes, go right ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Pan-Africanism hasn't failed. I'm talking to you thanks to Pan-Africanism. I am united, I feel connected to any African living around the world thanks to Pan-African. That consciousness of a kind, Pan-Africanism has developed it enough. Thanks to the work of Garvey, of Nkrumah, of many pioneers of the Pan-African movement. And thanks to Pan-Africanism, colonialism is gone in Africa as the old way. And also thanks to Pan-Africanism, apartheid, the civil rights movement, and independence of the African colonies, thanks to Pan-Africanism, the unity of Africans, the consciousness of a kind that makes us feel like we're one person, we need to do things together. That is already a big gain in Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
And it has been able to do that. Now, in terms of saying that this is just another, no, this is not another Congress of the Pan-Africanists. This is a gathering of the masses, of the people themselves. The Pan-African Congresses have the habit of convening, except, say, the 5th Pan-African Congress, of convening intellectuals to discuss and then blame somebody else or condemn something else. No. We are going to this gathering to come out with an action plan that is actionable.
Mm-hmm.
And unless that happens, this Congress will be a failure. And that is our goal. And we believe we will not fail.
Right, and I notice a grassroots work that's happening just among the masses, among the people. Tell us, when will this Congress, when are you looking to see this Congress kick off, and how can persons become involved?
The Congress, we believe that it will occur in 2017. The date is not set yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there is actually, just I want to reveal it to the brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, October 12 is a very important day for African people in the diaspora, especially because it's the Columbus setting foot in America. We are hoping that this Congress will happen on October 12, start or open on October 12, 2017, to commemorate the end, or at least to signal the end of Africans being separated from one another, but being one in one thing like the world before slavery.
Yes.
You know, and the way that we are organizing is that in each region there is what we call a regional initiative committee. And this committee is formed between 5 and 15 people. And this committee will reach out to Pan-Africanists in all the states in that region and ask them to form national initiative committees. And these committees will reach out to political parties, to civil society organizations, youth movement, women organizations, individual Pan-Africanists who are interested in working for African unity, to form with these organizations and individuals what we call the National Preparatory Committee. And this National Preparatory Committee will be the one sending delegates to the Congress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And throughout Africa and the Caribbean and Europe, the delegates of the National Preparatory Committee will come and work on a campaign strategy to get the unification of the African state to happen as soon as can be.
All right. Okay. It is really long in coming. We welcome this with open arms, and we encourage you, wherever you are, in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, in the African diaspora, to get involved. How does one get involved in this? What can they do? What should they do?
The first thing is they could visit the website. You know, you could find the website by just typing the first Pan-African Federalist Congress on Googling it, and the website will show.
Oh.
But it's not. The website is African Federalist, African, and then Federalist is PUBLIUS.com. Mm-hmm. And on the call, there is an email address. When you go to the website, there is an email address that you can write to. Or you could just post a comment and we will respond to you if you want to be involved. You know, indicate when you log onto the website that you are interested in this initiative and that you want to be involved. And then we reach out to you and tell you exactly or suggest to you in which way you can be involved.
All right, so many ways to do that. The easiest way is to Google the First Pan-African Federalist Congress. There's also a website. You just heard about that website. Call us here too, and we'll be able to give you more information. Also an email address. And the website, of course, is African Publius, AfricanPublius.com. Thank you so much, my brother Jume. We will be talking to you, I'm sure, many times before the actual Congress. Congratulations on the work that you're doing and the team that you're doing in getting the grassroots motivation going ahead of the Congress itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sister. And we, like you said, you are part of this initiative. And we certainly will be honored to have you in the communication team of this initiative. And even more than that. Because we believe that people like you can do a great work for this to happen. Communication is crucial here.
I am committed to this. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you, sister.
All right. That, of course, was our brother Jume Faye, and he is one of the committee members who initiated the call for the First Pan-African Federalist Congress. He's consultant in political development and campaign strategy. He's also a researcher on issues related to African federalism, Pan-Africanism, and the African Renaissance.
We are saying that those organizations which are politically on the front lines fighting for our people should come together and form a united front. This united front is a very simple thing now, a very simple task. All it means is that we come together and have common meetings. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them and ask them.
Hide nothing from the masses of the people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victory.
Thank you so much, my sister Tendai, with the words of Amilcar Cabral there, claiming no easy victory. Can we go into the phone lines to speak with my sister Esther Figaro about the cockpit country. Of course, they've been talking about the cockpit country for some time now, and there are developments, because the last we've heard is that the boundaries have now been defined, are now being defined, and that, well, we did hear the minister saying that they were, so it's not as if we're guessing on this, but let's look at the communities that will be affected. Esther Figaro is an activist here in Jamaica and a filmmaker. Good morning, Esther. Thanks so much for joining as usual.
Hi, morning, Kabu, and to your listeners all over the world.
Thank you so much, my sister. The cockpit country, here we are again, but there have been developments. We haven't spoken since we heard from the minister that a decision has been taken on the boundaries. What can you tell us about that, if anything?
We keep hearing that something will be announced, and again, supposedly this week, there will be an announcement on the boundary. But we've heard that before, so we'll wait and see. Rumor has it that on Tuesday there will be an announcement of the boundaries. But actually, we've been working very hard on trying to keep mining out of cockpit country, but that's not the only issue. The extraction of bauxite is happening all over Jamaica, and it's actually expanding, because what's happened is that most of the factories were shut down, and a number of them will never be brought back on. That's the aluminum factories. And instead what's happening is the actual soil is just being dug up and shipped out. So what's happening that's very exciting is that the last time we talked, there was an expansion of Noranda, which is 51% owned by Jamaica and 49% by the Russian company Rusal. had gone beyond their special mining license in St. Anne and were building a haul road which destroyed part of a hill and somebody's property and was moving in to destroy somebody else's property on the crossroads of Caledonia and Gibraltar. Mm-hmm. Well, those communities have organized on their own to fight this, to fight expansion of mining into their communities, Madras, Gibraltar, Barnstable, that whole area in Western St. Anne, and to stop the expansion into Trelawney and Cockpit country. Mm-hmm. And so they've organized to educate people and to demand of the government that the prospecting license that has been given to Noranda, which will stretch all the way to Mahogany Hall near Jacksontown, to Brownstown, down into the south to Waitabit and Cave Valley, mm-hmm. and which will include over 10,000 acres of the government's very own forest reserves, mm-hmm. that this prospecting license be revoked and that the expansion of bauxite mining westward be stopped. Mm-hmm. So on Tuesday, this Tuesday coming, we're going to have one of the rare moments of Jamaican democracy, where the communities are going to come out at this crossroads at about 10 in the morning and let people know that they do not want mining expanded and explain why, and then take the media, policymakers, public, whoever wants to come on tours of St. Anne mined out areas such as Lime Tree Garden and Caledonia, which have suffered greatly. You know, St. Anne has been a great sacrifice, has been one of the sacrifice zones. You know, the entire Dry Harbor Mountains have been mined out. Mm-hmm.
That is such one of the misconceptions that persons have, is that when they're told by the bauxite companies that we're just going to do surface mining and you know, we'll repair there's a term for it when they say they try to
right you're supposed to restore the land.
Right. That it really doesn't happen that way.
No, not at all. And so, you know, we'll take tours and, you know, show people the pits and the non-restored lands. And what happens is the bauxite is in the lowlands, okay? It's in the valley, it's in the pits. So that's what gets dug out. And then you have the people living or used to live, or the houses left or abandoned on the slopes. Mm-hmm. And then what they do is, because this is this colonial law, right? The Mining Act is from 1947, okay? Mm-hmm. No one in Jamaica, I don't think people realize this, but no one in Jamaica actually owns their land. Okay?
Yes.
It belongs to the Crown, i.e. the government, and they can do whatever they want with it. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you only own the topsoil, supposedly. Right? Mm-hmm. So they'll come in, dig out the topsoil, put it to a side, dig out your land, okay? Mm-hmm. And then they're supposed to restore it. But they can't restore it. You cannot do that to land and then it grow anything. So what's happening is right now people from Miranda are going into these communities and inventorying people's farmland, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're saying how much is, you know, you're growing corn, okay, how much that is, right? Mm-hmm. And then they will compensate them supposedly for that crop. But they'll never be able to farm on their land again. And we have to really, and this is across Jamaica, because I was in Manchester in Mile Gully, where you go for across existing farmland now, you'll see signs from Jamalco saying that they have prospecting licenses. That means here in Jamaica, where the government says we must eat what we grow and grow what we eat, and when we're under IMF austerity, one reason because we import everything, right? Mm-hmm. We are destroying Jamaica's agriculture. We're destroying our productive land. So how on the one side can we have a government promoting the destruction of agriculture, and on the other hand saying we must grow what we eat and eat what we grow? It makes no sense.
You make an important point when you talk about what is happening now, even this new thrust where we have bauxite companies going around and now prospecting, buying up people's lands, literally.
But they're not buying people's land. This is another myth. They used to buy land. They don't buy land anymore.
What are they doing exactly now?
So people they don't have to buy anything. In the old days, they used to buy land because it was just easier to deal with that. So, for example, I did an interview with a Scotsman who came to Jamaica and lived here. He's still alive. who bought up all the land that was in Mount Diablo, what's it called now? Mount Rossa, that whole area where the mud lake is. That was over 100 little parcels, and he had to go around and back in the 50s and buy, or 60s, I forget when, and buy up that land, okay? So people who are holding out, thinking the bauxite company is going to relocate them, buy land, those days are over. All they have to do is compensate you for the damage that they have done.
Wow, so they are acquiring land?
Because it's not your land. Remember, you're an occupant, you're not an owner.
And this is actively happening. Not that it had stopped, but now we see a resurgence. And I've seen this too. So I know that there's a resurgence, especially in the St. Anne area. And you talk about the danger of that expanding all the way into the Cockpit country.
Right. But it's not just westward, because the Chinese have been given a prospecting license on the other side, on the eastern side. I'm not sure quite where, okay? And then Rusal, the same Russian company that owns, it's just different names, Noranda, Alpart, whatever, just different names. It's
same danger, different name.
Okay, different names. Yeah. I was down in Nairn shooting down in St. Elizabeth, where the plant is closed. It's been closed for 6 years. There's no way engineering lake can ever open up. And so right now they are again digging pits, which is going to be simply shipped out, just like Noranda ships out at Discovery Bay. Alpart will be shipping out at Kaiser down in St. Elizabeth. So our soil, okay, our very structure, okay, our minerals, the things that make Jamaica the island that it is simply being shipped out for pennies.
Let us go to July 21, because this date is important for all of us. Because it's Tuesday, which is Tuesday coming, because we're talking about today being just a few days away. Right. So we're talking about Tuesday. Remind us what is going to happen on July 21 and how persons can be a part of that learning experience.
Right. Absolutely. Come and support, especially if you're from St. Anne and those affected communities, Madras, Gibraltar, Barnstable, that whole area, Caledonia, Lime Tree Garden, Alexandria, all those areas. If you come down to the border where the Hall Road has bored in, which has actually been stopped by the St. Irish Parish Council, by the way, come to the border, the crossroads of Caledonia, that crossroads, Caledonia to Gibraltar Road, and meet with the communities who will be educating everybody, but hopefully the press will come out and cover this on why we have to stop the expansion of bauxite mining, why the bauxite companies need to treat the communities better. They need to restore the land as they are supposed to. Of course they can't, but that's another story. And get to see really firsthand the pits, the dust, the whole 9 yards of what bauxite mining really does, and the sacrifice that rural communities are put under when hardworking farmers and the heritage of Jamaica is being destroyed by mining.
All right. Thank you so much, Esther.
And thank you always.
All right.
And we hope to see Ari there.
We will be there, July 21. All right.
All the best. Bye.
You too.
We are saying that those organizations which are politically on the front lines fighting for our people should come together and form a united front. This united front is a very simple thing now, a very simple task. All it means is that we come together and have common meetings. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper. We telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper. We telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper. We telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper. We telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. And ask them.
One Africa. Africa unite. It is an unfinished revolution. Our elder ancestor Kwame Ture talked about that unfinished revolution. Our ancestors have done what they what their purpose was to do. And for us, part of the unfinished revolution is to unite Africa, whether it is a Federalist Union but to unite Africa for Black Power. Black Power is not just a chant. It is a reality that we envision. But for that power, economic, political, and military to happen, there must be unity within the Black nation, within the African nation. Let's do this. It is for our generation to do this. The unfinished revolution. Now, the Justice for Walter Rodney Committee has been following this very, very closely. The Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. UC Kweana, taking the fight for freedom in every place, is joining us on the phone lines. UC Kweana, of course, formerly, for the Jamaican audience, formerly Sidney King, is a Guyanese politician, a cabinet minister in the People's Progressive Party government of 1953, was detained by the British Army in 1954, later left the PPP to form the African Society for Cultural Relations with Independent Africa, and after that fusing into the Working People's Alliance. He joins us to talk to us about the Commission of Inquiry and to give his perspective, what has gone on and what it means now that the Commission is coming to an end. My brother, Elder UC Kweana, joins us on the phone lines. Greetings, Brother Kweana. Thank you so much for joining.
Greetings to you, sister, and much respect to you and the listeners.
All right, thanks to have you. Good to have you on the phone lines. All right, so we've been paying a close attention to the Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. Can we look back to go forward a bit and to get your perspective on what you've seen so far in the Commission? Are you comfortable? Are you sure in your mind that in a way, at some point, there is justice is being done for Walter Rodney?
Thank you. I had never before, I was a major witness before the Commission on the side of Walter Rodney and justice for Walter Rodney and his family. And I have refrained from public comment because of that, because I was a member of the Working People's Alliance.
Yes.
At that time and for decades after.
Yeah.
So far as I'm concerned, the Commission is making a very great effort at openness, and I have been following up everything, although I don't live there now.
Mm-hmm.
And the evidence that has come before the Commission and has been cross-examined to this point does not disappoint the Working People's Alliance and those of us who are active with Brother Walter Rodney.
Yes.
That is all I would like to say on that matter. I am not going to discuss the merits of any particular witness.
Yes.
But
that's quite fine. Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. Because
all right. Yes, I wanted now to look at the fact that we're hearing that the inquiry is coming to an end, and wanted to find out how you personally felt about that.
Oh, I see. How I felt about it is something I said publicly. There was an announcement that the inquiry would have one more sitting. And I wrote a letter to the press pointing out that this was rather unusual and unfair, and that they should think again about it. But since that time, the Commission issued a notice saying that they would meet from July 27th for that week and wind up. And since that, there has been the publication of an extraordinary gazette giving the Commission until the end of November 2015 to present its report. All the Commission had said in its notice after this apparently hasty decision of the new government to put it on notice to wind up, all it had said was that it would meet and from the 27th of July, and that the last 3 days would be spent by the Commission in its own deliberations. Since that, there is this extraordinary gazette giving the Commission until November 30th. I think that is a more reasonable time for a proper report to be compiled with justice to all sides.
So in a way, and I know there's not much that you're going to say on this, but that even though it's being wrapped up in November, and we'll have that final presentation in November, that enough has been said in terms of the Commission itself, those witnesses who have gone before the Commission, for the Commission to come to a proper conclusion.
I can only give my opinion.
Yes. I know. Yes.
I have an opinion on this, and I want to say this, that we are very strongly on the side of Walter Rodney. We want to say also that there are other people concerned in this Commission whom we have been organizationally accusing at the time when they held power in the state. They are not the same individuals, but the same institutions. Now, towards the end of the hearings that have been held so far, all I remember is 2 witnesses coming forward on the opposite side. Now, justice is something with 2 sides. You don't go into a court unless you have 2 adverse parties. The other side, prominent witness was Gregory Smith's sister. They had written a book which they claimed to be written by him, mainly, Assassination of Walter Rodney, the Assassination Cry, or something like that, yes, in which they gave their version of what they alleged happened. The thing could not hang together. I wrote some criticisms on it at its publication in 2007. It's a hodgepodge trying to justify and cast blame on the Working People's Alliance, whom they claimed had got Rodney out of Guyana. Now, and got Gregory Smith out of Guyana into Cayenne. That is what they claimed in that book. There was an army pilot who gave evidence before the Commission, who testified to carrying someone of Gregory Smith's description with a lady and children with whom he lived at the time to a distant part far away from Guyana called Kokwani, where his father lived, the morning after Rodney's assassination. So that is on the books, that is there before them, and it's just for the commissioners to judge the quality of that evidence. I want to say one thing, though.
Yes.
The press, a section of the press, has been trying to fault the Commission. The Commission has its own spokespersons. These are persons I never heard about before in my life, and they are able to defend themselves when they think it right. But one allegation made against the Commission is that Mr. Jomo Yearwood, who was an adverse witness against the Working People's Alliance narrative, was not given fair treatment in the Commission. I would not like this Commission to close with that allegation hanging in the air. And I leave it at that. They claim that his expenses were not paid, that he was not given a full hearing. And I, as a person on the side of Rodney, would not like that to be held against this Commission. which has been held 34 years after the event. That is one thing.
Yes.
The other thing is that there are mischievous persons in Guyana. I call them mischief makers. And I will name one. I will call him out now. He writes under the name of Sultan Mohammed. He is a supporter of the People's Progressive Party. And he claimed in a public letter that the opponents of Walter Rodney were inside the Working People's Alliance, and that two African Guyanese, Takuma Ogunfeye and me, AUC Koyana, were against Walter Rodney because allegedly Walter Rodney had an agreement with Dr. Jagan to merge the PPP and the Working People's Alliance. This is sheer mischief. So what that supporter of the PPP was doing was trying to divert attention from Gregory Smith and his handlers to some people within the Working People's Alliance who he named. And that person, that citizen who had all this secret knowledge, has not gone before the commission to testify. So I regret that the sessions may be closing. I don't know if now that the time is extended, the commission will have any more time for further witnesses. But I should certainly like witnesses within the state at that time to have their day in court.
Yes.
Mr. McLean, who was then Chief of Staff, has made a partial appearance and has been unavailable on several occasions, and his testimony is incomplete. He was the one who tried to divert attention from Gregory Smith by a statement casting doubt on the existence of such a person in the army. I stop there because I've been talking for several minutes.
No, you do. We're really glued and listening intently to what you're saying. Thank you so much for that.
Those are my chief concerns. I do not want this commission to end and then people to take up these narratives outside of the commission and carry them on into the community and the society. This is what they are planning to do. You see, and I'm calling on them publicly. Thank you for this occasion. I didn't intend it, but they must come forward and testify or seek to testify. And I should like the counsel for the commission to explain publicly whether Mr. Jomo Yearwood, who was accusing Walter Rodney and the WPA, has in any way been treated unjustly. Because I want this commission, as Mrs. Rodney and the Rodney family want, we want it as a closure. And we do not want these allegations to be continued in an unofficial and irresponsible way in the wider society to incite the Guyanese people into all sorts of postures and attitudes.
How does one prevent that in terms of so even with the extension to November 30, it seems a done deal that this is being wrapped up. But I hear the call you're making. Is it possible for this to happen in the time that we have to November 30?
I can only give my opinion.
Yes.
I can assure you that if those persons were to present statements, it would take no more than 4 days of the commission's time if they felt they had the authority and the need to hear them. But I think a large section of cross section of the public would like them heard. And it is to you see, I have been active in Guyana's politics from 1947.
Yes.
I had my 90th birthday a few months ago.
Happy belated, by the way, yes.
I have a deep concern with the future of the Guyanese society, which has been messed up in various ways by one-party rule of one kind or another. We have an ethnic problem which is not being seriously solved. The only party that made a serious attempt to solve it at a popular level was the Working People's Alliance, And especially in the time of Walter Rodney, with his resources, which he made available to the public. And, you know, that is Guyana society. This is why the new government has such a slight majority, and the old government was a minority government. These are long-term problems, and we should not trifle with them.
Yes. And finally, Brother Quiana, talk to us about, I hear the concerns that you have regarding if the commission is allowed to wrap up without these loose ends being tied up. Just tell us in a nutshell, what would be suitable to you in terms of how the commission should wrap up, not their conclusions, but how they should...
I don't want to go there. I don't want to be appealing to advising the commission what to do. You know, they're very competent people. I've expressed my concerns.
Yes.
And if they are worth anything, I hope those responsible will take note of them.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And may I just say that it's an honor to talk to you on the phone lines. Happy belated 90th birthday, and thanks so much for the work that you've done.
Thank you very much, and much respect to you and the listeners.
All right, thanks much. All right.
Hello.
All right. Uhuru. All right, we just spoke with UC Quiana, taking the fight for freedom in every place. You know, he's a legend. UC Quiana, formerly Sidney King. And we're talking about Walter Rodney, but we just spoke to a legend also. And as David Hines says, it is difficult to properly analyze modern Guyanese politics without taking into consideration UC Quiana's wide-ranging contributions. His political career has spanned the decades, which mirrors over 7 decades, which mirrors the period normally referred to as a modern phase of Guyanese and Caribbean politics. UC Quiana, formerly Sidney King, was born on April 4, 1925, and has been involved in Guyana's national politics since 1947. He has been referred to as the Sage of Buxton, the Renaissance Man, and Guyana's Gandhi, among other descriptions. He's 90 years old. New York is what? A little behind us? And he was on the phone clearly speaking to the Justice for Walter Rodney and the Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Walter Rodney. We heard his concerns, and we'll follow up on them in our own way in terms of how we do and conduct our research for this program. Very honored to have had him on the line. I want to say good morning and thanks to you on the social media on Facebook. Isis, my sister, I see you. We're expecting you here on the 16th of August. Remember that? For our annual tribute to Mwalimu Marcus Messiah Garvey. To Chris Yanis. Wow. And Lidge Saleh Walde Mikel. Selector Princess. Aldith Hunker, Irie Daughter. Those are Twitter now. Hey, if we start, it's going to be a problem around here. Thank you so much on Twitter. Thank you so much on Facebook. Thank you so much on Foursquare. Thank you so much on Scoop It. Thank you so much on Reddit. You know how it goes. Thank you so much on the 107s. We have much more to come inside of the Africa Forum. Epictetus says that appearances to the mind are of 4 kinds. Things are either what they appear to be, or they neither are nor appear to be, or they are and do not appear to be, or they are not and yet appear to be. Rightly to aim in all these cases is a wise woman's task. Dr. Omar Davies, who is following up. As you know, we had a conversation with Dr. Davies 2 weeks ago regarding China Harbour, the possibility of China Harbour acquiring the lands at Roaring River. And we understand that Dr. Davies has a follow-up and want to talk to us about that. So we really do want to go to the phone lines to have that conversation with Dr. Omar Davies. I think just 2 quick points, and so we stand by for that. Also to come, Leslie Gale Atkinson, going to be talking to us about Emancipation Jubilee at Seville. I think Leslie's on the line, and if she is, we'll take her and then go to Dr. Davies. So Leslie Gale Atkinson, archaeologist and head of research at the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. Also to come in the program, all right, Birds Caribbean, birds connecting communities and conservation. Leo Douglas, who's the president of Birds Caribbean, will be joining me on the phone lines shortly. Wow, we do have a packed program this morning. Also, Bert Samuels, Pan-African attorney at law, going to be talking to us about the enactment of the trial of Governor Hare. So we're standing by for that. And as it is now, let me go to the phone lines where my sister Leslie Gale Atkinson is standing by. Leslie Gale, good morning.
Good morning, Kabu.
How are you?
I am good, and it's good to hear your lovely voice.
And it's good to hear you too. You know, last time I saw you was up in Woodside.
Yes.
At Dr. Erna Broadwell. Yes. And I'm going to see you again now at Seville, I'm sure.
Yes, I hope so.
There you go. All right, well, let's talk quickly about Emancipation Jubilee this year. It is on at Seville. And what's the theme this year, Leslie?
The theme is celebrating our ancestors through light, drumming, music, and dancing.
And that says it for itself. So tell me about that light, drumming, music, and so on.
Well, the light theme we were incorporating, because actually this year is UNESCO's of the light, where they're using light technology to reach people and to connect them across the globe. And we wanted to use technology as a way of showcasing our culture. You know, you can't know where you're going to go unless you know where you're coming from, and, you know, utilizing that. And then, of course, as an African ancestor, dancing and drumming and music has been an integral part of how we express ourselves as a people and how we overcome the hardships that we have experienced. You know, so I mean, these are common elements that you usually see at Emancipation Jubilee.
Right,
and this year we're actually having a drumming showcase in particular, where we're featuring Akwabe drummers, led by Philip Supersad, and also Profi and the Nyabingi chanters. So that should be surely enchanting.
Of course, and Profi was just here too, so there you go.
And music, we tend to showcase folk music, so we will have pieces showcasing Brookins and Dinky Mini by the Manchineel and the Islington cultural groups, along with NP Plus mentor band, you know, so that should be awesome, in addition to our gospel showcase, which this year is led by Jermaine Edwards, and of course we'll have Sister Pat this year, and we'll have a special presentation to our stalwart Sister Scully, who is normally a rock each year at Emancipation Jubilee.
Yes.
And then finally the popular section is headlined by Freddie McGregor, who needs no introduction. Noted artists such as Roots Underground and IKEA, amongst others.
All right.
This year should be awesome.
And it's kicking off at what time?
The show time starts at 8. And tickets are $1,000 for adults and $500 for children, and you can get tickets at the gate.
All right, and we'll be there. IRFM is partnering with the Jamaica National Heritage Trust on this. We're definitely going to be at Seville this year, broadcasting back live. And at midnight, something happens at midnight usually.
At midnight, we read the Proclamation of Emancipation. And I just wanted to note that, you know, Seville, you know, we tend to think of Seville as being only associated with 500 years of European rule, but this is also an area where not only the Africans were enslaved, but also our indigenous people, the Tainos, right? Because they were the first peoples who were enslaved in the region, and the first contact between the Spanish and the Tainos happened also at Seville, and where the first Africans were introduced in slavery under the Spanish from as early as 1513 was also at Seville. So this is not just about enslavement associated with the British period, but all the other periods before. So it's a very historic site, and it's a very somber event, and
it's also about freedom too. It's also about freedom too, and I know that it usually is a somber occasion. It started off that way in '98 as a somber, or was it '97? As a somber occasion, and I know that for the beginning, for the very first, you're starting at 8 o'clock, and all of that period will be featuring that aspect of our culture, which would be a little bit more somber, wouldn't it?
Well, the first part of the show showcases our cultural tradition. So, we have a number of JCB winning performances with the traditional music and dance and drumming. And then at midnight, we usually read the proclamation, and then that is followed by the laying of wreaths on the graves, because four Africans were unearthed during the excavations in the 1987 and 1991 at Seville from the old African village. So we normally pay respects to them there, and then about 1 a.m. that is when we kick off the popular segment of the show. But it's more in terms of popular music, in terms of cultural music, not popular music in regards to dance hall.
Right.
But I mean, all up until 5, 7 o'clock in the morning, activities are still going on.
I know.
There's usually kumino, that's my favorite part.
Yes. I know.
When the drums beat, you have to move.
Of course, out of the drums we come. All right, so it's really into August morning. Starts at 8 o'clock on July 31 and goes all the way back into the morning. We'll be there broadcasting live from the start of things as far as we can, and we hope to take that reading of the Emancipation Proclamation, that reenactment at midnight on the day. We're also going to be reenactment at midnight on the day. We're also going to be in Black River in the square there, and we're linking those two emancipation vigils for that day, July 31. But definitely Seville on July 31 will be the place for the Emancipation Vigil into August morning. Thank you so much, Leslie Gale. Unless there's anything else you want to say quickly?
Yes, please remember to dust and wash off your enamel mugs. So your old-time chocolate tea, we really have to be our sponsors. RFM, we've had a long association. And Jane, she's very happy that you will be with us at this event. And also Jamaica National, Digicel, and all the other sponsors who've made this event possible. Our 19th staging, and I hope that it will continue. I was there for the first Jubilee. It was an amazing experience. And
wow, Leslie, talk to me about it. Yes, remember that?
Yes, I remember. It was 3 nights. It was like the best 9 nights I've ever been to.
I'm telling you, yes. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, my sister. And we'll see each other and talk to each other again before this happens, I'm sure.
Yes, Kabu, right. You take care, my
Okay. Leslie Gale Atkinson there, who's an archaeologist and also the head of research at the Jamaica National Heritage Trust.
When we lose our African connection, we lose our world connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. Without the African connection, we are a disjointed people, begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. Now we're standing by to speak with Leah Douglas of Birds Caribbean. But in the meantime, let's quickly speak with Dr. Omar Davies for about 3 or so minutes regarding the Roaring River lands and the plans, the possibility of China Harbor acquiring land there. You know, that's been a concern of the Africa Forum and my own personal concern here on many issues. Dr. Davies, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I've been struggling to get through to you.
Well, I'm very happy that you finally got through, and thank you so much for following up, because you did promise to do that, and here you are. So thank you very much for that. All right, so Dr. Douglas, we'd asked about two things. Well, one in particular had to do with the Garvey family, Morlemu Marcus Messiah Garvey, and his family being enslaved on the Roaring River property, and that's something you said you would look into. Would that make a difference in terms of how Jamaica negotiates with China Harbour for the property? What can you tell us?
The actual question you asked is whether it was a heritage site, etc. And
no, Dr. Davies, I didn't answer that question.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Anyhow,
I wouldn't have answered that question, you know, because I know the place very well.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
right,
yes. It is not. Well, let me for whatever it's worth. I checked as to what had been designated by the National Heritage Trust, and the water wheel at the Mammoth Bay water wheel also designated.
Yes.
In terms of, I got no information as to from the Heritage Trust about about the Garvey family. So there's no official, in a sense, designation in that regard.
Yes.
No, so that has not arisen in the discussions.
Right, but that is one of my main concerns, and the idea that if this property is a place, or was a place, where the Garvey family, where Marcus Messiah Garvey might have been born himself, and where his family was enslaved, and that is well documented through the research of UCLA and Professor Robert Hill, that what difference might that make to how this goes down, one way or the other?
In terms of
what's going to happen on the land itself, whether or not the land itself will be looked at in a different way. And then the other concern was that this is a watershed area.
Right. Okay. Let me deal with that one. I have a specific. There is an officially designated watershed area, but it's under the official care of Jamaica Public Service, because, as you know, there is a generating hydroelectric generating facility, which is fed by the water from that. So there is an explicit area which has been given to the JPS for care, etc. What the areas we're talking about are to the west, that's going towards Mobi, and not in that area does not in any way impinge on the watershed area.
And last week,
it's best if I send, and I will, if you give me an email, or you get your assistant to give me an email, I will send you the maps indicating what I'm talking about.
I'd appreciate that. And last week you said it wasn't on either side. It's not on the Laughing Waters, in the Laughing Waters area.
No, it's to the west of it's to the west of that. In any event, I think you should be aware that there is there either in existence or plans for some service lots in west of the watershed area, as well as space has been allocated for the expansion of Speartown.
Yes.
So there is already there are already plans for that development, but the general and more specific answer is that it's the watershed is protected, and it's under the care and control of the JPS by an official agreement.
Right. And
further east is the whole Duns River section 2.
Right. West is actually going back towards Montego Bay.
And going towards Mobi. Yeah.
But Dr. Davis, I still think I think there was a misunderstanding last week, and I heard when you misunderstood, but I didn't quite get that's what happened. But my main concern though is, and I think a lot of people are concerned about this, is the Marcus Garvey connection to the Roaring River property, which we all didn't know really until we started doing the research, and I think it's just recently that UCLA through the Garvey papers published that information. It's nowhere in Jamaica that I've seen it. I actually found it through UCLA, thanks to the research of some of our listeners here at IRFM. And I have spoken to Robert Hill about this, and this is something that he said, yes, that is factual. For me, and the question I was asking you last week, would that make a difference in what is done on the property, this knowledge that the Marcus Garvey, our first national hero, and might have been born on the property, but what is sure is that his family were enslaved on the property?
Well, I would at both a personal level and speaking as a member of the government, I would like more specific information, but at the same time, I would like to have an understanding of as to what would be a desired commemoration or whatever in terms of, we know in terms of Enderby Manley and Buster Manty what they have done in regard to commemorate their birthplaces, etc. So it would be interesting to find out from the persons who, as you said, have a great interest in it, what would be their, apart from identifying that this is the plantation on which Garvey's forefathers were born or lived or enslaved. The question is, what would be the method of commemoration? I'd be interested in hearing that.
And I think that's a discussion to be had. I've been having that conversation by email with Professor Hill, who told me that he would be in Jamaica this month, actually. So let us see if we can get him to have a conversation with him.
Well, I know Bobby, if you could just indicate to him that he could contact me.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Davies.
All right.
Okay. Dr. Omar Davies there, and the most we can say, is that as a politician and somebody who is integrally involved in the issues regarding China Harbor, that we had a conversation with him 2 weeks ago, and he did promise that, all right, there's some issues that he would follow up on, issues regarding our own concerns and whether or not all of these lands will be given to China Harbor. The documents that we saw coming out of the first reports that came out, we are seeing some changes in those first reports, and that in a way, and I know Asa Black that you wrote me last week to say that I sounded as if I was agreeing, but I am hearing differences. First it was east and west, now we're hearing it is west, and in terms of what was published. Also, we heard that the Laughing Water lands, as a matter of fact, persons were told who were jogging on the Laughing Water lands by representatives of China Harbor that they would not be able to do so very soon because China Harbor was acquiring those lands. Now we're hearing from the minister himself that no, not the Laughing Water properties, which we were very, very concerned about, not the watershed area, which we also were very, very concerned about, but going west towards Montego Bay. Now, we're going to follow up on these. We have all of these conversations in terms of the research and the follow-up, but a lot of our questions are being answered. The most outstanding so far is the Roaring River lands as they relate to and are connected to Mwalimu Marcus Mosiah Garvey and his family. Also, once we see the map of the proposed development, then we'll also get a better picture. But we're hearing what we're hearing from the minister, and if he says that this is what is going to happen, it is up to us to hold government responsible and to their word. Okay, listen up. Dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, Cashpot early bird draws are coming up next, right here on IRFM. Boy, I can't wait to get to this interview because I do love birds. You would be surprised to know how I love birds. I love birds so much that I really do hate to see them caged. I don't even like the things that they do where they put this net up. What they call these places again where they have these big nets and then they call it some little place and you have a lot of trees and when you go in you think it's all dandy and fine, but really and truly those birds are in captivity. Anyway, Birds Caribbean, birds connecting communities and conservation. The 20th International Meeting of Birds Caribbean is happening right here in Jamaica from July 25 to 29. The president of Birds Caribbean is Leo Douglas, Dr. Leo Douglas. He's president and also research fellow at the Smithsonian in Washington. He's also a lecturer at Columbia University. We're going to be going to the phone lines to talk to him about the upcoming international meeting and also about why birds matter. Do you remember those milk tins that we used to go, well, if you're a child of the 80s, let me talk to the children of the 80s. Do you remember those milk tins that we used to just tear? Because I didn't drink milk. I still don't drink milk. But we used to take the things off, the labels off, and inside the labels, there used to be some black, really, really beautiful birds. We're standing by for Mr. Leo Douglas. Mr. Leo Douglas, we know we're a little bit late, but we're standing by to speak with you. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, Mr. Leo Douglas ain't answering his phone, but we are trying to get him. He's president of Birds Caribbean, also research fellow at the Smithsonian in Washington and lecturer at Columbia University. The 20th International Meeting of Birds Caribbean is happening July 25 to 29. In the meantime, on Facebook, Adele Brown says, Kabu, I think they are changing their mouth about the Roaring River lands. Yeah, we've seen some changes in that regard, and if activism results in changes, then we take it in stride. And he says that's because you're asking too many questions. It's because we are asking questions, and we should continue to ask questions. And Glenn Garwood on Facebook says, I wish to share a thought with you on the China situation. Do you realize that the lands being given to China are classified crown lands? Trying to get this closer to me. And he says, and as such could not be given to China without the explicit knowledge of the crown. And while the Governor General is the Queen's representation in Jamaica, he does not have the authority to approve that. And he says this might be bigger than we think. Thank you so much for your comments. Hey, we're standing by to speak with Mr. Leo Douglas, president of Birds Caribbean. All right, if we can't get to Mr. Leo Douglas, we could speak with Picheri. Emma, can you send us a note or give us a call? The theme for the 20th International Meeting is Birds, Connecting Communities and Conservation. The program will include special keynote and invited speakers, symposia, workshops, contributed oral paper sessions, an evening poster session, roundtable discussions, and working group meetings. The meeting will also see different topics. One is Jamaica Day, a celebration of Jamaica's unique and wonderful birds. And the other is connecting conservation and communities through birds, engaging youth and communities with citizen science, outreach and education programs, and also the status of Caribbean forest endemic birds. All right, really wanted to ask the question, why do birds matter? I need somebody to answer that for me. All right, let me know what's happening with our special guest, Mr. Leah Douglas. In the meantime, in focus, we understand that U.S. President Barack Obama won't be visiting his Kenyan relatives in their home village in the west of the country during his trip to Kenya later this month. This, of course, is from the U.S. ambassador. The U.S. ambassador said, I can confirm that unfortunately President Barack Obama will not travel to Kogilo during his visit to Kenya. And President Obama, as you know, is scheduled to give a speech to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Nairobi to on July 24. He's due to continue his Africa tour with a visit to neighboring Ethiopia, which is also the seat of the Africa Union. And talking about Ethiopia, you do know that there was a big conference, financial conference in Ethiopia most of last week. We should give you an update on that. I do have an update, if we can put our hands on it. Okay, here it goes. The United Nations member states from 193 countries who attended the third Finance for Development Conference held from July 13 to 16 in Addis Ababa have concluded their meeting by adopting the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. And just 3 minutes before we get to news, let me rush to the phone line. All right, who do we have on the phone lines? Is it the president of Birds Caribbean? All right, Dr. Leah Douglas joins us on the phone lines. Dr. Douglas, good morning. Thank you so much for joining.
Morning, Kabu. Happy to be with you.
Yes, and my apologies because we came to you a little bit late, so I know it's also our fault why we didn't get to you on time. But guess what? We only have 4 minutes now, and I really do apologize for that. But
no worries.
I wanted to ask you this question quick, because I love birds so much. Why do birds matter on any level?
Birds matter for a number of reasons, particularly in the region of Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Birds pollinate the forests and watersheds that we now have on Jamaica and benefit from our rivers, etc., were in large part created by birds. Mm-hmm. But I think in the Caribbean, since my time is short, what I would speak about mostly is that Caribbean birds, most of them, when I say in terms of the percentage, mm-hmm. like in Jamaica, we're talking about 30 birds that are only found on Jamaica, nowhere else in the world. Wow. And that is true of many Caribbean islands. So there are cultural heritage, something that we need to know and understand and appreciate. Mm-hmm. But if they are lost from Jamaica, they're lost from the world. Oh, my. So there are strong cultural reasons, including our national bird is only found on Jamaica, nowhere else. Mm-hmm. So they matter a lot. Economically and culturally.
Our national bird is found only in Jamaica. And you're saying that there are about 30 birds that are found only in Jamaica, not necessarily in any other Caribbean country?
Yes, actually, it just became 31 because an international organization just found out that a bird that was thought to have been in Central America as well, it's only found on Jamaica, the parakeet, as we would know. It is only found on our island and nowhere else.
Wow. And where are these birds mainly? You know, I had a Barbadian friend visiting me a while back, and one of the things she said to me, just looking around, she said, "Where are your birds? I notice I'm not seeing any birds."
I can understand that, because, you know, when I went to Barbados, I found that the birds were so much more in the city than they are in Jamaica. You see, Jamaica is a lot older island than the island of Barbados. Our forests are older, our environments are older, and much richer. And because they're old, our birds tend to be very married, as it were, to forest. And when we cut forest, the birds disappear. They just cannot survive in in the concrete jungle, so to speak.
Yes.
And therefore, you know, you have to go further afield. You have to go to the Cockpit country, the Blue Mountains, to find those native Jamaican birds.
In the Cockpit country, you said?
Sorry?
You said in the Cockpit country just now?
Yes, in the Cockpit country, in the places like the Blue and Jonker Mountains.
Yes.
You know, the places that still have good, rich, natural, that old forest. That prime forest.
The Cockpit country, why I stopped you there is that the Cockpit country is in danger now, and lots of talk about that. So if the mining continues in the Cockpit country, obviously we're going to see the bird population being affected.
Absolutely, you know, with more intrusion into forest. And one thing that I must say, based on my own work, is that, because I did research on this in Jamaica, is that even when we selectively remove trees, like we go in and cut out the mahogany or cut out the cedar, even those small kind of changes can have very profound effects in terms of reducing the bird population. So absolutely, you know, the more we go into reducing size, reduce those native trees, our native bird population is affected.
Dr. Douglas, guess what? I don't even have a minute, but I just wanted Natalie, can I get a minute to just find out about the conference? The newscast is up on us. So I want to give you just 30 seconds to talk to us about the conference, and my apologies once again for joining you late.
No worries. We are having a conference in Jamaica. It's the first of its kind in over 2 decades in Jamaica, focusing on birds, focusing on nature. The theme is connecting birds, connecting communities to conservation. And we have some amazing sponsors: Sandows Foundation, Island Car Rentals, Hope Group, Lena, the Blue and Jonker Mountains National Park, Carb Cement, and it's going to be 5 intensive days of training, workshops, presentation on groundbreaking, cutting-edge research on the island. And I'm encouraging everybody who would like to be a part of it to participate. We're also having a 5-day summer camp for kids from the inner city, from uptown. Everybody coming to Hope Group to learn about nature from international experts, and we're really hoping that Jamaicans will become a part of this and learn from the experience.
And the conference will be
a great time.
And the meeting, the international meeting in Kingston, at which location?
So it's going to be in Kingston at the Knutsford Court, starting next week Saturday, and it's going to be for 5 days.
We'll hear much more.
The children's camp is going to be at the Hope too.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Leah Douglas. I'll continue to talk about it, and persons who want more information can also contact us here at IOFM or just Google Birds Caribbean.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping to speak with you again.
Okay. Me too. Take care. All right. Dr. Leah Douglas, there, President of Birds Caribbean, Research Fellow at the Smithsonian in Washington and Columbia University lecturer.
This is news from IRI FM, Jamaica's non-aligned news voice.
Good morning. I am Natalie Campbell with the local and international headlines. Education Minister Ronald Thwaite says the long-awaited Jamaica Teaching Council JTC bill is now ready to be submitted to the Legislative Committee when the formal session of the legislature begins in September. Reverend Thwaite was speaking to a group of educators and JTC officials at the recent Master Teachers Program Awards ceremony and exhibition held at the Medallion Hall Hotel. 11 teachers were recognized for long and distinguished service as master teachers. The Jamaica Teaching Council bill seeks to provide for the establishment of a governing body for the teaching profession and institute a regime for the licensing and registration of all government-paid teachers. The council, through this bill, will have legal power to immediately suspend and cancel the registration of a teacher who has been charged for certain offences, inclusive of sexual offences, murder, pornography, robbery and fraud. Improvement work on Phase 1B of the Santa Cruz water supply system in St. Elizabeth is moving apace and should be completed on schedule in December. The project will see some 4.4 kilometers of pipeline laid from Santa Cruz to Lovely Point. On completion, the project is expected to facilitate housing developments across the parish in some areas and provide improved water supply service for an additional 23,000 residents at a cost of over $38 million. During a recent tour of the project, Water Minister Robert Pickersgill informed that works, especially within Santa Cruz, was progressing satisfactorily with a greater portion of the pipeline already laid. Segment B will include the laying of some 800 meters of pipeline along Coke Drive to Pagan Drive. Meanwhile, Mr. Pickersgill is appealing to residents in St. Elizabeth to bring their outstanding accounts up to date under the National Water Commission's new debt forgiveness program. He said payments of outstanding water bills would guarantee better water supply for all persons. In news overseas, a series of explosions today targeted cars belonging to officials in Gaza, including from the ruling Hamas militant group. 4 blasts hit vehicles in Gaza City. 2 people suffered minor injuries. News agencies said the 5 cars belonged to members of Hamas and the rival Islamic Jihad militant group. Supporters of the so-called Islamic State group have threatened Hamas's leadership in Gaza in recent weeks. Finally, the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi, Kenya, in which 6 or 7 people were killed in an attack by Al-Shabaab militants, has reopened. In September 2013, gunmen entered the mall and fired on shoppers, leading to a siege over 4 days. About half the shops are opening again after an extensive refurbishment. Those were the local and international headlines. News next at 11:45. From the IRI FM newsroom, I am Natalie Campbell.
Which are politically on the front lines fighting for our people should come together and form a united front. This united front is a very simple thing now, a very simple task. All it means is that we come together and have common meetings. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. And if we hear one attacking the other newspaper, we don't respond to the newspaper, we telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. We telephone each other and ask them. Ask them.
Black power! 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 Black power!
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
Just to remind you that come August 16, it will be our annual tribute to Molimu Marcus Messiah Garvey. That will happen right here in the courtyard of IRI FM. And the theme this year is One Africa, One Africa. Our guest speaker is Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party. And our special guests include all the Pan-African, African-centered, African, Rastafari, you name it groups here on the island in Jamaica on the grounds of IRI FM. One Africa. One Africa. Looking forward and looking ahead to September and October. September 27, as we observe 150 years of the Morant Bay Rebellion. The enactment, Jamaica putting Governor Hare on trial at last for crimes against those murdered at his command at Morant Bay in 1865. You cannot afford to miss this. IRFM will partner, and we are partnering with the National Commission on Reparations to broadcast the enactment of a trial live on September 27 from the steps of the burned out courthouse. Pan-African attorney at law Bert Samuels is joining me on the phone lines to tell us more about this. Write the date down, September 27. Note the date also, October 11, because we're back in St. Thomas as we honor our obligations to remember the Morant Bay Rebellion, the march from Stony Gut to Morant Bay. My brother.
Hi, Mr. Kabu and your listeners worldwide.
Yes, how are you?
I am good,
yes,
very good.
Yes, great to know that. Bert, we are so looking forward to September 27. I want you to...
Why are you looking forward to September 27?
Listen, I'm going to tell you why once we finish this interview.
Okay.
All right, listen. So the enactment of a trial of Governor Hare. Tell us, let's go back a little bit for listeners who maybe don't know who Governor Hare is and why we're doing an enactment of a trial of Governor Hare.
Well, we should learn that he came from South Africa. The British brought him there to oversee the post-slavery Jamaica, to keep us in line. You know, slavery had been abolished in 1838, and you're looking at 1865, and it's not too many years after that, the Holocaust that we went through. He was to continue the Holocaust after the abolition of slavery, and things just went very bad. And eventually, there was the 1865 massacre. Some people call it the rebellion. I prefer to call it the massacre. I'm going to
go with you. I'm going to go with you as of today. Yes, I prefer that. Yes.
Because to say rebellion, you can have a rebellion for the wrong reasons. Yes. People rebel for wrong reasons. People rebel for right reasons. And Governor Hare was Lieutenant Governor Hare. So he seemed to have had his army. His background was an army. You want to put the people under control, then the best person to be the soldiers. So his real title was Lieutenant Governor Hare. So he came and was presiding over the spoils of slavery.
And why are we doing an enactment of a trial? Why is this necessary to do?
Yeah, well, if you look at the oral history of the people of St. Thomas, the scars run deep. Bogle, his family, his brothers, women, men who decided that enough was enough were slaughtered. And one of the writers spoke about the stench that took place in Morant Bay itself, because the mass burials, there was not enough earth to cover our bodies, and there was a horrid stench days after the massacre. And it represented those of us who were shot, those of us who were hanged. And so for the people of Morant Bay, there's been no closure. No one has paid the price for the slaughter of those people who in their live oral history. There's Sister Abrams, who is the Commission's oral historian on the whole massacre. She's able to bring to the table a lot of the recounting of persons who were hanged and the relatives of those who were hanged.
Yes.
And there's been no closure.
And in fact, and for the people of Jamaica generally, but also in fact, I know that a lot of research has gone into unearthing the names, even though it's just recent history, unearthing the names of the persons who were massacred, who were killed there fighting for freedom, for their own rights, and that a plaque, a monument is to be erected in a way to them, also in Morant Bay, which we will come back to later on. But your involvement in all of this as an attorney, because here we are, and we have been saying that this enactment of a trial, even though it's an enactment, and a dramatic presentation, that this will be conducted by real legal minds here in Jamaica.
Well, the whole thing came about, sometimes you don't even realize what brings things about. And you and I, Kabu, who believe in the spirit of the ancestors, so that, led by the ancestors, led by the blood of those who perished, the idea came to us that, listen, no one has been tried for these massacres of so many people. And therefore we're going to put responsibility on the head of the appointed colonial, as it were, governor of the island. And it is Governor Kheru, under whose watch this thing happened. Because remember, no one wanted Jamaica to become another Haiti, where the people rose up and drove out the colonial masters and created their own government. Yes. Jamaica was always under the watch of the British. They don't want us to go the Haitian route. And therefore, Governor Kheru is holding a tight rein on it. So there's been no closure, Sister Kabu. And I think closure meant that you would have to extradite, go back in time and extradite Lieutenant Governor Kheru and bring him back here to be tried by the people. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. And I mean, based on my knowledge of the court for the past 36 years, and my Pan-Africanist beliefs, it was very easy for me to do that script. Yes. I mean, I've done the bones of the script, and it's been polished by other Pan-Africanist people to bring it to the trial out. So we managed to put together. Go ahead.
And I'm going to come back to that point where you said we managed to put together. But yes, you managed to put together something, because you spoke to me about it, and I got goose pimples for the entire conversation that you were talking to me about that. But what did you manage to put together? What? Sorry, I interrupted. Yes.
Okay. Well, what happened is that I went back in time in my own mind, and I said, the ancestors will always lead us once we're ready to be led. And I made sure to get a shorthand writer, went into my conference room with my daughter, who is also an attorney, in another couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And I stood up and had Governor Kheru in my mind, and I put the trial together, and I recited it from when, the jurors were called right to when the sentence was imposed, which I can't tell you what verdict the jury will come to on the 27th of September, but I can only tell you that, the trial went on, and I did it from top to bottom. And it took me 3 hours, Kabu, of speaking it into being. And it was recorded by the reporter who did it word for word. So there we have a script in bones, and it has been polished and worked and fleshed out by the work of others.
Yes. And on the day, tell us, how is this going to be? We're talking about an enactment. We're talking about legal minds involved. This is going to be done at the courthouse, with the burnt-out courthouse, where this would have happened anyway, hopefully. And so that what's the format? Is it all going to be structured formally as a court would be? I hear you talk about the jury. Be structured formally as a court would be? I hear you talk about the jury and so on.
Yes.
All of that.
Well, what's going to happen is we're going to try and involve the people of Morant Bay as best possible to become jurors and courtroom observers.
Can we apply to be a juror?
You want to be a juror? Now remember, the jurors must not be biased. They must not come to the table with a verdict. They must listen to the evidence, and only after all the evidence is in, they could come to. So I don't think you could qualify for that.
Yes, I'm disqualified, I think. All right then. So the jurors will be drawn from Not
people
for
of Morant
for the
Bay,
people of
from
Morant Bay.
possible law students who they volunteer. And you may know that the Morant Bay courthouse has been burnt down, so we're not going to be able to use much of it. But that famous stairs taking you up into the courtroom where Bogle and his followers would have fled when the court was disrupted, we're going to try to work that into the whole thing.
Yes.
So there's a playwright who's dealing with it, who is putting it together.
So
the rehearsals have not yet started, but the script is being refined. I think it is finally refined and is ready for rehearsals.
So there's going to be a judge and everything?
Yes, you're going to have a judge. I mean, we're not going to give out the name of the judge. We don't want him to be influenced by anyone. But Sister Kabu, let me just explain to the people, as a lawyer, what hits me most.
Yes.
Your listeners should know that from the moment Africans came here up to 1838, no white slave master could be charged for the murder of an African slave, an African made a slave. So you won't find in our history, through those nearly 300 years, of any African who was murdered by a slave master being tried. Because we are not human beings. It's like, no one is tried for the murder of a dog in Jamaica, even except that the cruelty to animals is also, you could be in trouble. But the people need to know that right up until 1838, because we were not human beings, in the minds of the colonial master, no one could be tried for murder. So one of the great things about putting Lieutenant Governor Hare on trial is to put a white appointed official on trial for the death of an African people. Is historic in our minds.
It is historic, and I think it's also a brilliant idea to do this. The concept, I think, is going to hit everything out of the water, generally speaking. But the fact that you get a chance to be present, to be there, even though it's an enactment, you get a chance to be there. And for me, and when you ask me why I was excited about it, it is that you know that the need, because I am my ancestor, and so the need you feel for justice, I think is gonna be, we get a chance on the 27th to see that.
But you know, Kabu, one interesting question that we would have to ask. I'd like to know, in our history in Jamaica, when was it the first time that a white man was tried for the murder of an African Jamaica? That would be very great research. Because they were at will just to kill us during slavery. So, you know, this is history in the making. We're trying, you know, the most important public official for the murder of. And we chose, you know, what prosecutors do. And I'm on the side of the prosecution in this matter, as you imagine. What prosecutors do is that if there are a lot of persons who have been killed, they can select, say, 5 people and try them. So we decided that we should put him on trial for Bogle, of course, Honorable Bogle. We should put him on trial for William Gordon and put him on trial for the murder of at least 2 to 3 women. Because the women are a big part of the Morant Bay, you know, the whole decision to go ahead with the fight. You know, there are times when the men were getting weak and the women say no. They're going forward.
And through the research of Clinton Hutton, the name that Gohegan, he says, it tells us, is the woman to throw the first stone.
That's right. You know, the women were prepared to take them on. So one of the things that you will find in this trial is that we have extradited him, and I'm going to tell you why I couldn't do the script the very way that the Orthodox lawyer would have preferred it. For example, Sister Kabu, in Jamaica, when a person is on trial, it is the Queen against you. That's what the case is named, so that if you were put on trial, Sister Kabu, the case would be called the Queen against Kabu. Now, I couldn't have a reenactment, an enactment rather, and have it to be the Queen against the Lieutenant Governor Hare. The way I did it was to just call it the people against Lieutenant Governor Hare. And that's one of the changes I had to make in the script.
Sounds simple, but brilliant. And we invite the people to be present at court on the 27th.
Yeah, it would send a message to the British even now, because they're still watching us, Sister Kabu. They're looking how much use we're making of the history, because the whole question of reparation has to do with what's happening here. The people of Morant Bay should be compensated by the British government for that massacre that took place after, when people were hurled before, and it was a military court. It was, military law became enforced, and therefore we didn't have jurors people tried by their peers. It was a military court. There were no jurors, and the judges were military officers. So the unfairness of the trials, Bogle was not given a fair trial, and so that the whole thing is to say that Lieutenant Governor Hare, passed military law when he should not have, and the people are denied a fair trial. So those were not trials; they were just, the murder of hundreds of African Jamaicans.
We're looking forward to this, because as I said before, it is a chance, and even as an enactment, is a chance for us to see justice at work. And if it's even one that we can try, we should do that symbolically. We need I said we need to dig up some graves and so on, Bert, but I suppose we'll get to that at some point.
Well, we are actually, it's going to be eventually filmed, and so that for posterity, the people should know. But, for all right-thinking African Jamaicans, this 150 years of the slaughter of people who rose up and caused us to be where we are in part. We're hoping that it will get the support of people. We don't want this just to be a show. This is part of our history. This is part of closure for African Jamaicans. That we're putting a governor appointed by colonial office on trial. Something they should have done, which they didn't do. Well, the people are doing it in Morant Bay on the 27th of September.
And we hope that during that same period, between the 27th and October 11, as we remember, honoring our obligation to remember the Morant Bay, the massacre at Morant Bay, that the names of those who were killed, so viciously and violently murdered, that we will get a chance to call their names, but to see the monument also built to them and their names written, whether it's on the plaques, on the walls, or wherever, during this time. This is as good a time as any to do that. But can I just say
Kabu,
that? Yes.
We should always remember and remind your listeners that part of what led to the Morant Bay massacre was that there was this collusion between the judges and the planters. And one of the big events that happened was that someone was accused of trespassing on a plantation, and that plantation wasn't even in operation. And the judges were at all times giving judgments in favor of the planter class and not the people. So it has deep justice issues involved in the Morant Bay massacre.
Of course it does, and we'll hear much more about it as time goes by. It is September 27th. Please write it down, and then we're back in St. Thomas on October 11th. But the 27th is going to be a historical day in Jamaica. We
don't know the verdict, so let people come out to hear the verdict in this trial and hear the evidence. Come and hear Bogle's mother giving testimony about how her son was dragged before a military court. She wasn't even able to attend the court hearings. Come and listen to what happened.
And because it is an enactment, people like myself can be like Gohegan, the woman who threw the first stone.
I know, yes, I figure you're related to her, Kabu.
I think so. I think so, and I'm serious about it. There must be, I don't know, but I think this is brilliant. Once again, this is brilliant, and I must congratulate the National Commission on Reparation, Professor Vereen Shepherd, and yourself and the team for pulling this off. Dorrit Abrams and all the others, Jamoki. This is great, Bert.
Okay.
It is
always
brilliant.
A pleasure.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much. Pan-African Attorney at Law in the building, Bert Samuels. Jamaica is putting Governor Hare, Lieutenant Governor Hare, as you heard our brother Bert Samuels mention just now, on trial at last for crimes against those murdered at his command at Morant Bay in 1865. IRIE-FM is partnering with the National Commission on Reparations. We will broadcast the enactment of a trial live on September 27 from the steps of the burnt-out courthouse in Morant Bay. In 1865, the courthouse had also been burnt down at the instigation of a woman. And here it is in 2015, burnt down again. Several attempts had been made in England to indict Lieutenant Governor Hare for the murder of Gordon, but this never happened. This will be a dramatic presentation, but we're sticking as far as possible closely to the history of 1865. The trial will be conducted not by actors, but by real legal minds in Jamaica. And you heard attorney at law here in Jamaica, Bert Samuels, telling us that the script is done, the bones, now ensuring historical correctness. But we're looking forward to this on September 27. We're going to be in Morant Bay, September 27, and then again on October 11. The massacre at Morant Bay. Thank you so much, Bert Samuels. Thank you so much.
Africa. Running Africa. Ahaya Jamaica. So what take Kaka say also Kadia. Ewo IRIE FM.
To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
We ask you to pay attention also to August 16 as we pay tribute to Mwalimu Marcus Messiah Garvey. Our very special guest speaker in the courtyard here at IRI FM will be Chairman Omali Yeshitela. A little bit about him in this quick jingle.
This mid-20th century is Africa's. This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now.
Chairman Omali Yeshitela has a bold, ambitious plan for one united Africa and African people. The only thing that will overturn the misery that we face everywhere on this planet. In 2015, the chairman would travel to South Africa along with organizers of the African People's Socialist Party to consolidate our growing base of African people who want freedom and liberation now.
We're tired of being told transformation will happen. So we want it to happen now, not in 5 years, not another talk. Now is the time.
The African People's Socialist Party has built African-led economic institutions on the ground in Africa, Europe, the U.S., and the Caribbean. The work of Chairman Omali Yeshitela is empowering the African working class to end the 600 years of assault, slavery, oppression, and plunder of Africa and African people. In the 1920s, Marcus Garvey galvanized the entire African world with the statement, Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. Garvey's vision inspired the anti-colonial movements of the African people around the world. Including the Black Revolution of the 60s, the U.S. front of the African Revolution.
We are Africans, and we happen to be in America. We're not Americans. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America.
After assassinating our genuine freedom fighters, white power installed neo-colonial puppets.
We are going to build houses for you.
A handful of protesters, a handful of criminals and thugs.
To continue the same system of colonial oppression with a black face. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is an uncompromising voice, mobilizing and organizing the African working class everywhere.
The revolution in Haile Selassie has not been complete.
city in America. We can do the same thing in Freetown or Nairobi here in Africa. Black power is more than just a word. Yes. Black power is self-government. Yes. And we are preparing to govern. Yes.
Black power is more than just a word. Black power is self-government. And we are prepared to govern. The words of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. He'll be here on August 16. We're going to hear from him in the bottom line. Brought to you courtesy of Adwa Nutrition for Life Health Food Store, located at shop number 42, City Center Mall, and shop number 2, Westgate Plaza, Montego Bay. Adwa Nutrition. Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine your food. A little bit from Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Too, for coming out. And I really want to express my appreciation for having this conference on today to deal with the issue of black power. Because we think that that is the fundamental issue of these times that we live in. But in fact, it's been the fundamental issue for African people for a very long time now. First of all, what I would like to do is just briefly say some things about the African People's Socialist Party, which is the organization that I chair. We are a revolutionary organization. And by that, I want to say that we are convinced that this country, this system, do not have the ability to do justice by African people. That if we are to ever know justice, freedom, and democracy, we are going to have a revolution. It's that simple. And I know that that's a difficult issue for a lot of folk. And the fact that it is obviously a difficult issue for a lot of folk is reflected in the number of people who are in this room right now. But it is nevertheless the truth. And it's important to talk about that because we can continue to have discussions that make us feel good, but won't take us anywhere. We can continue to have discussions where people come before us and make rhymes like up with hope and down with dope, and perhaps we'll feel better, but they don't take us any place. And what we have to do is come up with some kind of analysis of the reality that we are confronted with as a people, and then be able to use that analysis to change our circumstances so that they are not the kind of circumstances we find ourselves confronted with today, but what we want for ourselves and for our children in the future. So we are a revolutionary organization. We believe that if one wants to know what it will take for us to become free, all we have to do is look at history and see what it took for us to become enslaved. If we find any place in our history that we voted ourselves into slavery, then I say let's go and get together and vote ourselves the hell out of slavery. And if we can find any place in history where we sang our way into it, then let's sing our way out of it. But the reality, that is not the case, sisters and brothers. The reality is that we are going to have to cut, shoot, and bomb our way out of the circumstances that we find ourselves confronted with. And I know that's not something that everybody wants to hear, and it's not something that a lot of folk want to hear. But it's the truth, nevertheless. This is not a suggestion at this meeting that once you're on your way out, we're going to be handing out AK-47s for people to go out and do your thing. The reality is I'd be extremely afraid to pass out AK-47s in the community because I'd be afraid that I'd probably become one of the first victims of the AK-47. In other words, there's a lot of work that we have to do in the interim. But having said that there's a lot of work we have to do, we have to also remember that our objective is total, absolute liberation for our people.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
That's the bottom line with Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Just a bit from him there. As we come close to the end of the program, brought to you courtesy of Adwa Nutrition for Life. Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. Located at shop number 42 City Center Mall and shop number 2 Westgate Plaza in Montego Bay. We have come this long and thus far, and the elephants that brought us have since died. The ships that brought our ancestors have since rotted. In front of us stand colonialism, the Roman army. In front of us stand imperialism and neo-colonialism. In front of us stand white privilege. In front of us stand oppression. And they want both our swords and our blood. It is such a critical struggle. It is such a critical struggle. For if we lose, we are lost forever. If we lose this struggle now, in this time, we are lost forever. We will find a way. We will find a way. Or we will make one. This is how we say goodbye for today.
Some will hate you.
My name is Kabu Ma'at Kheru. My broadcast assistant Shamara Preston. On the desk is Jody and Dawkins. To my special guest this morning, thank you so much. UC Quiana, Fafai, Jume Faye, Leslie Gale Atkinson, Dr. Omar Davies, Dr. Leah Douglas, Pan-African attorney at law Bert Samuels. Thank you so much. Remember now, August 16 in the courtyard of Irie FM, our annual tribute to Morlamu Marcus Messiah Garvey. And then again on September 27, we're in Morant Bay as we put Governor Hare on trial for crimes against black people. We're back in Morant Bay on October 11, honoring our obligation to remember. Join us there. See you next week. Walk good. Tell the mother one howdy.
Hide nothing from the masses of the people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victory.